questions, unless, Coach, if you want to say anything. Oh, questions, guys.
Coach, Sean Callahan with Husker Online. I guess let's start here. What drew you to this opportunity to come and work in this role, in a non-coordinator type role with Matt Rhule?
Well, I've always liked Nebraska. I had some background playing against them when I was at Arizona State. We played them 3 times, actually. So, I've always admired Coach Osborne in this program. But when Matt came here, Matt and I have known each other, Coach Rhule, since 2001. And a lot of the assistants that came with him, I'm real close to. So, I followed it really closely. And so he asked me if I'd come and help. And I said, sure. And I didn't really know what the job was, but I'm just going to help on defense and special teams and, the quality of play on the field. And I'm looking forward to it.
Will you help with game plan, like week of game plan, and how much will you be involved in helping call the defense on game days?
Coach Butler will call the defense, okay? But I will be involved in the game plan, in there with them. And it's a collaborative thing, right? We all work together and but it will be Coach Butler's defense, and we're all working for him in that room.
Phil, Mitch Sherman from The Athletic. When you all left Carolina, when you were all done in Carolina, what was your plan at that time with the place you were at in your career? Did you intend to kind of go off into retirement? Did you have an opportunity at that moment to come with Matt to Nebraska and be his defensive coordinator in 2020 at the end of 2023? And then the changes in the way that what coaches are allowed to do, not necessarily have to go off campus and recruit or have unlimited staff size. How did that also play into this decision now for you to come here?
Yeah, Matt tried to get me to come when he came. But, I just told him, I said, at my age, and I just didn't have the energy to go out and recruit and do the things that it took to be really successful. And I was really happy I hired Tony. Tony was with us at UCLA for a year, so I knew Tony quite well. So I was happy about that. The game, the portal and NIL, I left college football in 2019. So this is my first full-time gig with that in place. But, you just got to adjust to the times. And I think this staff has done, and Matt has done a great job adjusting. And you guys know this, his plan has changed a little bit from originally when he got here. And so it's an adjusting deal, and you just got to keep adjusting with it.
I'm Sam McEwen from the Omaha World Herald. How have you seen Coach Rhule grow, even from when he was at Carolina in the last 3 years here in Nebraska?
Well, Matt knows how to build a program. Now, we didn't get it done at Carolina, but they only gave us really 2 years, right? It was a bad deal. But he knows how to build it, and he's building it here. You can see the progress from year 1 to 2, and now from 2 to 3, we've always made a jump. So that's the plan, is to make that jump this year. And so, I think, Matt is always trying to get better. And, his staff, he can drive his staff nuts with that too, because he's always looking for an edge and challenging you every day on the field and what you're teaching and how you're doing it, how you're recruiting. That's just Matt. He's always looking for an edge. So he'll always continue to grow.
But you like working for a guy that's always looking for an edge. Why do you like working for him so much?
Well, through the years, if you stay stagnant with anything, and I'm sure it's in your guys' profession, all right, you're losing ground. So you got to stay ahead, especially on defense. With the offenses that they adjust to what you do, you must stay ahead. Well, the only way to do that is challenge yourself, or otherwise you get comfortable and complacent, and people take advantage of you. So, you have to do that on defense.
Are there what have you noticed about the Big Ten? Since you've come into this realm, is there anything as you study the Big Ten, what are your takeaways?
Well, it's really interesting. We talked about this yesterday, that it's become a lot like the National Football League in its style of play. You have the run game, you have the 2-back run game, you have the 1-back passing game, real similar to the National Football League, along with personnel groups that they're running, much more so than some of the other conferences in America right now.
Coach Andy Kendi with KETV in Omaha. I'm just curious about your impressions about what the Nebraska defenses have been like the last couple of years, and maybe what stood out, and maybe what could they improve on?
Well, I think Tony did a fantastic job with that 3-3 package. I ran a 3-3 package at Baylor, and it was different personnel. His is attacking. With all the different fronts, and they don't play that. We didn't play that many fronts here, but with all the movement, it becomes a lot of different fronts, and it's really hard to block offensively. It's a nightmare offensively, and Tony did a great job of adjusting and staying ahead of the offense every game in both seasons. So, and we're going to employ all that stuff on first and second down. We're going to hope to advance the third down package a little bit more like the National Football League. If you watch third down with everybody on the line of scrimmage and mugging backers, and we'll advance the third down package. Coach Butler will. You know, he has NFL background. I do. So, but we're taking a lot of what Tony did, and because it's highly successful and creates chaos for the offense.
Ryan Christopherson with Husker 24/7. What's been your impression of Coach Butler and just how you two can work together?
Yeah, you know, I knew of John, but I didn't really know John. But, you know, there's guys on our staff that knew John. But he's fantastic. He's really knowledgeable, good to work with. It's been good.
How much is his background in the NFL? You mentioned like the third down stuff. How can that aid you as you think about ideas going into the season?
Well, you know, you got to stay ahead. In the National Football League, you have to win third down. But when I say that, you have to win third down at any level, right? But you know, it's a little bit more sophisticated in the National Football League and college on third down, a little bit schematically. So I think John will bring some really good things to the table from an offensive standpoint. You know, the protections, will attack protections, the different types of coverages that we can play on third down that Tony didn't do. And that's nothing negative about Tony. He did a hell of a job with what he did, right? But I think there'll be a few different wrinkles on third down.
Evan Bland, Omaha World Herald. You mentioned meeting Coach Rhule in 2001. What do you remember about your first encounters with him, and maybe when along the way did you know this was a guy you wanted to keep working with?
Well, I'll tell you a little story about him. We needed I guess it was a GA back then. The names have changed so doggone much, right? But this guy kept texting me, sending me stuff. I mean, I don't even know him, right? I said, who the hell is this guy? So, and he played at Penn State. So, and he says, hey, Coach Paterno will stand up for me. So I went to the head coach, Bob Toledo at UCLA. And I said, Bob, do you know Coach Paterno? He said, yeah, real well. I said, will you call him on this guy? Because he's driving me nuts. So he did, and Paterno said, hire him. So nobody on our staff knew him, not one person. And he did a hell of a job now. In 1 year, left really an impression on everybody there. And, you know, by the way, Deshaun Foster played for us at the time, right? And he's head coach at UCLA. So, but, yeah, he did a great job. And I've always stayed in contact with Matt since. Julie, they didn't have kids at the time, and just a fantastic couple.
Maybe this isn't a big deal. I just wanted to bounce it off you. How important is it in Matt's role now with all these new faces to kind of get everybody on the same page? All these new coaches that are come in.
Mm-hmm. Well, we've had 2 meetings. Last week, Matt talked in a meeting for about 6 or 7 hours straight, you know, implementing what he wants and what he expects. And so, but you have to do that, right? When you get new staff members, and that's one of my jobs. He's you know, I'm supposed to help all these younger guys and guys that are new what he expects. So that's one of the things I'm doing too. Yeah.
Hey, Coach, Matt mentioned this month that he would also have you doing some stuff with some of the edge rushers or defensive ends, maybe helping out Terry up front. What do you envision being able to devote time-wise to that?
Well, you know, really, and I told the coaches, even right now, I need to stay busy on the field, right? I'm a football coach. That's the best thing I do is coach on the field. So I will be with a position every practice, helping somebody. It won't always be the D-line. I'll help with the linebackers, secondary. Obviously John needs to walk around and stuff, so I'll be the one that helps the other coaches. And, that's what I do, and I really enjoy that. So that's one of the reasons I came back to do this.
Matt also mentioned you were helping with some of the interviews with the special teams coordinator. What were you looking for there, and what stood out, I guess, about Coach Ed?
Well, Mike, his energy and the way he taught. I learned old school that a good teacher gives a stimulus and there's a response. And the way he teaches, it's just outstanding. He gives you a stimulus, and you give him a response, and it's clear cut, it's aggressive. I thought it's like Matt and I said when we did the interviews. We said, Mike's probably a home run. Right, and so that's why Coach Rhule hired him.
Carolina for a second. How did you see that experience shape him? Because you're right. I mean, you guys didn't get a lot of time there, and it kind of turned pretty quickly. And you started during COVID. How did you see him maybe shaped and grow through that experience?
Yeah, if you really look at Matt, the first year, guys, we were at Carolina for 6 months and hadn't met a player. It was a tough job when Matt took that job. Obviously the pandemic hadn't hit yet, right, when he took it. So, but there's no question in my mind if they would gave Matt 4 years there, he would have won. We were getting closer at the time, and then they went on and won 7 games that year, right? So we just didn't get enough time there. But I am sure, any time that things happen to you negatively, you learn a lot, right? I mean, you think players learn the most when bad things happen to them, and so do all of us. So, yeah, I'm sure Matt's grown in a lot of areas.
Hey, Coach, in the few years you've been out of college football, just how much has it changed with the NIL, the acquisitions, and all the things now that office is dealing with, maybe that you weren't dealing with the last time you were in the college game?
Well, I don't think the play on the field's changed. The styles and hasn't changed that much. But the NIL and portal has completely changed it. I mean, I come in and I have to learn 120 names, and our veteran coaches that have been here still have to learn 50 names. So 30 to 50 names. I mean, that's the way college football is today. So you just have to adjust and adapt.
Coach Steve Mark with Inside Nebraska. When you watch the film from last season's defense, what are the biggest areas that you think needs to be focused on and improved?
Well, first of all, when you're in the top 20 in most categories, they were excellent in a lot of categories. I think one area is third down. We have to win third down. The other area is red zone. I mean, guys, when you really look at it, if you play well on third down and you play well in the red zone, it's hard to score from an offensive standpoint. So both areas, and I'm not saying they were bad, but those are the areas that we have to get better at.
16-20 in the zone. You talk about not being stagnant and getting ahead of offenses. What are some of the things that you've done, you think, that have gotten ahead of offenses and kept you ahead of the curve?
Well, I'll just give you an example. My second year at Carolina, we wanted a big defensive end, and we got Hassan Reddick, little guy. I had Burns on the other side. So we completely changed our first and second down defense. We went to a 5-man front, because we had 2 elite pass rushers off the edge. So not only do you have to adapt and stay ahead of the offense, but you have to utilize the people that you have. People that run systems and don't care with who they have are wrong. You got to fit the system. The player, right, wins football games, not the system. So, and we'll do that with this group. As we have a lot of young players, and as this group develops, Coach Butler will keep adapting, right, to what's best for this group.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Appreciate it.